All right, let's just dive right into this. Welcome, 8th graders, to today's explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly powerful. We're talking about using your voice not just to make noise, but using it like an actual instrument. Think about the most captivating speakers you know, the best storytellers, or even your absolute favorite audiobook narrators. They don't just read words off a page, do they? No, they perform them. They master the art of reading aloud. And by the end of this lesson, you are going to have the exact tools to do the very same thing. You see, there's a really stark contrast between two types of readers. We have all experienced the sheer pain of the robot reader. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It sounds a little bit like this. The boy ran down the street. He was very scared. The dog barked loudly. It's flat. It's boring. And honestly, it's just confusing because you have no idea what's actually important. Now contrast that with a master communicator. The boy ran down the street. He was terrified. The dog barked loudly. Do you hear the difference there? A master communicator is engaging, they're clear, and they're highly purposeful. They shift their delivery to instantly pull you in. So today, we are leaving that robot voice behind for good. So here's our exciting itinerary for today's lesson. Number 1, ditch the robot voice. 2, a time for everything. 3, 3 steps to fluency. 4, real-world reading action. 5, your communication homework. And finally, 6, our godly learner philosophy. Let's keep moving. Okay, section 1, ditch the robot voice. Let's talk about changing your speed. I want you to think about it like this. Reading is exactly like music. If the speed never changes, the song gets boring really, really fast. I mean, imagine your favorite, most upbeat anthem suddenly played at the speed of a slow lullaby. It totally ruins the energy, right? Well, the exact same thing goes for reading. When you're naturally telling a story to your best friend about something crazy that happened at lunch, you don't speak in a steady, monotone rhythm. You get louder when things are exciting, softer when it's a secret. You talk faster when the action picks up, and you slow it way down when you want them to hang on your every single word. Reading aloud demands that exact same dynamic, musical rhythm. Good readers are constantly changing the speed and emotion in their voice depending on what they're actually reading. Moving on to section 2. A time for everything. Let's look at God's pacing. Let's see how this builds perfectly on a foundation of God's truth. Because honestly, this isn't just some neat communication trick. It's a reflection of how the world is actually designed. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 tells us, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." Just as God created very distinct seasons in nature and specific times for the events in our lives, there is a proper season or, tempo for every piece of text we read. You wouldn't wear a heavy winter coat in the blazing heat of summer, and in the same way, you shouldn't read a high-speed adventure story with the slow, careful pace of a science textbook. God's wisdom perfectly applies to the pacing and the timing of our daily communication. All right, section 3, 3 steps to fluency. Time to become a master communicator. So how do we actually apply this? Well, I'm about to equip you with 3 specific tools to bring absolutely any words to life. Here is your framework. These 3 steps are going to give you total control over how your audience receives your message. Step 1, decide purpose. Step 2, match your rate. And step 3, add expression. If you master just these 3 steps, I promise you, you will never be a boring reader again. Let's break them down. Let's look at step 1, decide your purpose. Before you even open your mouth to read, you need to ask yourself one question. Why am I reading this? Are you trying to entertain someone with a hilarious story? Are you informing them about important historical facts? Or maybe you're persuading them to see your point of view. Reading the punchline to a joke requires a vastly different delivery than reading a set of emergency exit directions. If you don't know your goal, your audience won't either. Once you know your purpose and you've matched your reading rate to fit that material, you hit step 3, add expression. Now, expression is kind of the secret sauce here. It means emphasizing important words, varying your pitch, making your voice go higher or lower, and pausing for effect. Doing this ensures the audience actually understands and connects with the meaning. A dull, flat voice makes a joke fall completely flat, but the right feeling, that makes the audience feel something real. Which brings us to section 4, real-world reading action. Let's practice varying your delivery. Let's take all of this out of the realm of theory and look at how your rate and expression absolutely must change across 3 vastly different scenarios. Scenario 1 is the instructions. Let's say you're reading a pretty complicated recipe aloud to someone cooking in the kitchen. For this, you need to deliberately slow your pace down. You want to make sure you are careful, clear, and deliberate. If you rush through, add 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 3 eggs, the listener is going to miss a step and literally ruin the cake. Detailed information demands a very slow rate. But what about scenario 2? The action scene. Imagine you're reading a thrilling chase scene from a mystery novel. The protagonist is sprinting down an alley, footsteps echoing right behind them. Right here, you rapidly pick up your vocal pace and energy. You speed up slightly to match the high excitement and suspense of the action. A faster rate makes the listener's heart beat just a little bit faster, bringing them right into the middle of the scene.
And then we have scenario 3, the emotional speech. When reading a heartfelt, deeply moving message, you definitely do not want speed. You lower your voice, you soften your tone, and you insert a dramatic pause. This brilliantly illustrates how slowing down at key moments massively increases the emotional impact. It gives your listener the time they need to truly process the weight of what you just said.
All right, on to section 5, your communication homework. It's time to practice your skills. You hold so much power as a speaker. Now, how are you going to build this muscle this week? I want you to treat this homework as practical training for real-world influence. So, here is your mission checklist. First, choose 2 entirely different texts, maybe a poem and a news article, and read them aloud with completely different rates and expressions. Second, practice deliberately slowing down when reading detailed instructions to a family member. Third, read an action scene aloud, time yourself, and then adjust to make the pacing even better. Fourth, grab your phone, record yourself reading the exact same paragraph in 2 totally different styles, and listen back to the difference. It's eye-opening. And finally, write down and describe a specific time when changing your tone made your reading more effective. This, right here, this is how you go from novice to master. And finally, section 6, the godly learner philosophy. Let's talk about wisdom and truth. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to pivot to the absolute most important part of our lesson, the profound why behind everything you do here. At HeroesMart Academy, we deeply believe that intertwining biblical morality with your education is non-negotiable. Why? Well, because education without morality can actually hurt. Think about it. You can be the most articulate, fluent speaker in the entire world, capable of persuading anyone of anything. But if your heart isn't right, that intelligence isn't serving a good purpose. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 teaches us that to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Keeping our minds centered on God's truth ensures that our intelligence and our brand new communication skills lead to righteous, life-giving choices rather than simply making us more capable. I want to leave you with this final, challenging thought. Knowledge makes you capable. Knowing how to change your pitch, your pace, and your expression makes you a very capable reader. But godly wisdom? That makes your choices righteous. As you step out to pursue academic excellence this week, I want you to keep your mind completely centered on God, on truth, and on wisdom. So, as a newly minted master communicator, how will you use your voice today to boldly honor God? Think about it, practice hard, and I will see you in the next lesson.